Alright, today we're going to take a look at doing some one-person breaching, so just one-man breaching with a Halligan and a wedge, basically. So this is pretty much to address some of the issues that are coming off of Rescue Task Force, active shooter incident type of things to be able to get in very, very quickly. So we have some other things posted on some video casts that show a direct relation to being able to make quick entry into these events, like Virginia Tech, and being able to decrease casualties by getting in quicker. So that being said, we're just going to focus on one-person dynamic breaching. This is going to differ a little bit from some of the things that are more fire-based focused and maybe a little bit from even SWAT. So we're going to take a look at breaching doors that come towards you that are outward doors and doors that are inward. So when we look at it from an active shooter response, typically we're going to find those outward doors coming at us when we're making entry into a school. When we're looking at trying to make a safe haven or reaching into a CCP into a school that's on lockdown, those are going to be typically the doors that are going away from us or inward doors. So we're going to give just a few examples. We're going to add different techniques and different ways of breaching different constructions and building constructions each month. So the door we're using is actually a Firehouse Innovations door. So it's Mike Perone's door that we've been using for probably about 7, 8 years. It's the only door we really ever teach with, if possible, depending on where we're at. It is definitely worth the money. It's 2 doors in one, so we'll kind of do an overview, and you'll see the door here in a second. But it gives us the ability to actually crush the door realistically, be able to gap the door realistically, and it's super easy to be able to cut your 2x4s and 2x3s in half to be able to get all the wood dowels that creates the resistance for you. And you can up that resistance to the point of being fairly heavy as far as barricading goes. So we were fortunate enough to work with Mike a few times and do some teaching with him at SOMA last year. So what you'll see is a little bit different techniques that we use than Mike. Definitely go on to Firehouse Innovations website and check out all the techniques that Mike does. A bunch of great videos on there. Ours are a little bit different because ours aren't fire-based focused. So most of the techniques that we're using, we're outside of that door, that fatal funnel, realizing that we can stand in front of it and fire. We aren't really concerned about shooting at us or anything like this. For us, we try and do as many techniques as we can outside of that door. So most of ours are going to be standing off to the side a little bit. So some of the techniques probably differ just slightly from with what Mike does. Door construction, the door construction that we're going to be breaching today is typically just a metal door and a metal frame. This door obviously allows you to do wood frames and things like that, but today we're going to focus mainly on metal on metal. When we look at schools, that's typically what we have for the outside entrance exits. When we get inside, usually we have a heavier core wood door and a metal frame. So that changes your breaching just a little bit from the techniques that we'll be showing you today. Unfortunately, pretty much everything that we do in almost any rescue, whether it's rope rescue, vehicle extrication, anything like that, breaching, especially when we're using a Halligan, is physics heavy. So if you know a little bit about physics, then you're going to be able to make your breaches probably a lot easier. Unfortunately, most of us that have been through fire academy and SWAT school and things like that have gotten probably not the best education on breaching. Typically, that's why we have those big guys that are referred to as Mongo that just go up and hit that door a whole bunch until it opens. When in reality, we can use a couple small techniques and be able to be much more efficient in what we do. And we'll go over a little bit of that. Realize that even in physics, there's a couple things that we have to understand with the door construction, and that's the problem with a lot of doors that are out there for trainers. They don't have a door jamb, so that's one of the big reasons that we like using the Firehouse Innovations. Also, is just the realism of the door and the fact you can beat the crap out of it. But most ones that are missing a door jamb, that's the number one mistake that we see typically is people over penetrate either the adz in or the fork in into that door jamb, and then they actually have to defeat that door jamb before they ever even get to the point of using that Halligan as a lever to pull that door open. So avoiding the door jamb like the plague is really important. Unfortunately, a lot of the breaching doors that are out there for training actually don't even have a door jamb, and so we kind of see that in operational mistakes that go on. With that, realize that when we're looking at a Halligan, we're using the Paratech SPF from Rescue Craft today. And when we look at that, I know that there's a lot of people that are on a couple different sides of the house on what Halligans they like. We used to use Pro Bars quite a bit, and the Pro Bar SPF Paratech is like East Coast, West Coast rap battles now. So we like it just because the angles on it. I've got to do less modification to this tool to do one-man breaching especially when it comes into getting into a seam of a door. It's a little bit thinner, and the way that that mechanical advantage is, the grade is phenomenal. So when we look at this, a lot of people just see a Halligan as a lever, as a device that this is a 30-inch bar. So as a lever, we usually are getting somewhere around a 9.8 to 1 mechanical advantage if we can just put just the minimum amount of forks in there. But realize that when we're doing this, a lot of times, especially if it's a two-person breach, as we're pounding in that adze or that fork end, we're actually creating a wedge. So you got two mechanical advantages. You have an incline plane or a wedge, and that exists before you apply it as a lever. And we'll go over a little bit. And lastly, we're using a wedge today. Thanks and props go out to Nick Chapetta from Chapetta Custom Rescue, who made us a couple custom ones that we asked for, and it's been phenomenal. We've been breaching with it today and love that thing. So you'll kind of see that whole thing. So we're going to ditch this stuff and make the magic happen. As far as the resistance that we're going to do, we're going to go a little bit heavier resistance on the doors that are coming out as if they were dead bolted, and then we'll have typically the same resistance that we'd see when we're breaching a door into an active shooter that you'd see in a lockdown situation in a school.